This is On the Flywheel, a podcast where each week we talk to entrepreneurs and professionals about the practical things they do to build and keep momentum in their personal and professional lives.
Hello and welcome to On the Flywheel. I'm your host, Jonathan Mart with Flywheel Consulting. And today I'm excited to have on the podcast Ash Gomez, founder of Digital Twinners and co-founder of Orion Sky Studios. Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
So I always like to start out just kind of as a baseline. You obviously own/co-own two companies now, but tell me a little bit about your career path and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. If you would have told me, 6-7 years ago, I'd be running a full-fledged media company, I would have been like, yeah, sure. Okay. But I grew up in sales right out of high school. I was fortunate to get a sales commissions job. And I feel like that was the best breeding ground and training ground for life and for business. So I did that for about 8 years, and in 2019, my dad had passed away, and it just really shook up my world. And so I started to reflect on my life and like what my day-to-day was, because I just didn't want to meet the same fate that he did at such a young age. And so started to calculate how much I sold for that company in those 8 years. And when I got to that $100 million mark, I was like, whoa, that's hella cool, but to only get a fraction of that just hurt. And so I really just started to look into other things, see what I can do. And then fast forward a few months later, the pandemic hit, and the company I was working for allowed us to stay home and get paid full time. So I took full advantage of that. And my brother was maybe like 12 or 13 at the time. He's living in SoCal. I'm up here. And we're playing the Nintendo Switch. I was like, our way to connect. And man, we were playing for like an embarrassing 3 or 4 hours.
Well, that's everyone during COVID was playing a lot of video games and those kinds of things. A lot of screen time.
True that. But I was having so much fun that I was looking down at my hands on the controller, and I was like, man, why can't I do something that brings me this much joy, or at least just lets me get lost in it? And I was like, wait a minute, I can fly drones. So I started looking into different drone companies, joined different Facebook groups, and I got connected with this guy out in Emeryville who was just starting up his drone company. And so I helped him get clients, in exchange taught me how to fly, and he was doing a lot of real estate media stuff. We were doing that for a good few months and getting some really good traction. But he's originally from India, and I guess had submitted a government proposal program to them to start up their first drone program. And so they called them and they're like, hey, he's like, I gotta go up and do this. And I was like, dang, that was a week for my 27th birthday. And I thought this was my, my way out. But I was like, you know what? I know how to sell to clients, and now I know how to do the service. Let me just take a risk, invest in myself. And so bought all the equipment, and 2 months later, I quit my full-time job, and I've basically been doing this full-time ever since. And about 3 years into Digital Twinners, we started to grow a team and have a cinematographer and extra photographer on the team. And but my cinematographer, he's been flown all over the nation to do amazing videos for people. And I just felt like I was limiting him to just, real estate. And we had some of our realtors asking us to do some content for the social media. So started dabbling in that, and they started to get really good results. And I was like, wait a minute, we have something here. So we should start exploring more of the video production side at the same time of growing Digital Twinners. But we quickly found that the messaging and branding was getting super confusing. And it was like, wait, you can take pictures of my home and you can film my buddy's wedding. That's a little too broad of a scope. Mm-hmm. So about 2 years ago now, we decided to separate the video production side from the real estate media. So we have Digital Twinners, it's just our real estate media, and then Orion Sky Studios, it's all of our video production. Basically any video that you see on social media that you're scrolling through. Okay,
cool. So first off, let's talk about names, because you have two very interesting names for your businesses. So talk about how you came up with Digital Twinners.
So Digital Twinner. So it was actually called the Virtual Matter when I first opened up. And about a year into opening up the business, I get a phone call from this guy, and he was like, hey, are you Ashley from the Virtual Matter? And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, I'm so-and-so from Virtual Matter, and you're taking my business name. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. But I hung up on the guy immediately, because I was so nervous. And afterwards I was like, why did I just do that? Ended up calling the guy back and getting it all figured out. So I had to switch names. And I have a buddy who had sold his company name to Google for over $1 million. And he's like, if I were to start over and do this business again, I would call it Digital Twinners. And I was like, say less. You sold your company name for $1 million. I just chose somebody else's name. I thought I did my research. So that's where Digital Twinners came to be. And for Orion Sky Studios, because I was co-founding it with my two co-founders, Matthew and Christian, I really wanted to have a name that we all really loved. And so we're very into the movies and the moon and space and all that stuff. And we always geek around with all that. That Orion just really really worked for us, especially because it's 3 stars in the Orion belt. There's 3 founders. And so Orion's known to guide people through their journey and through their challenges. And we feel like we do that for our clients through their content and things like that.
That's cool. Yeah. I love the thought behind the name. The 3 stars in the belt's also a cool touch. Was that like a lucky happenstance, or was that part of the thought process?
If I'm going to be honest, we decided on the name, and then somebody else was like, "Oh, the 3 founders for the 3 stars." We were like, "Yeah,
absolutely,
totally, duh. That's exactly why we did it."
I'd rather be lucky than good any day. You know?
I am with you on that.
That's awesome. Okay, so you have 2 businesses right now. One is focused on real estate media, so you're taking pictures of houses, basically, right?
Yeah, doing all the photos, videos that you see like on Zillow and apartments.com, homes.com, and things like that.
Okay, and then Orion Sky is more digital media for businesses. So it's B2B. You're coming up with all the video and video content for people's websites, social media, that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So I'm to start with, I'm curious, like, what do you feel has been the key to growing your business? Because you've started from, you bootstrap. I assume it's bootstrapped and from scratch, and you didn't have. It's not like you'd gotten a business degree or done it with someone else. You kind of just jumped into it and started doing it. So, give us some insights here into what's worked and what hasn't. I'm curious.
Yeah, honestly, those 8 years of sales was everything, because I had to be able to connect with somebody in a 5 to 30 minute transaction, get them to buy a bunch of things. And so you quickly have to learn how to read different personalities, meet people where they're at, how to talk to people, how to be kind. And I would say the customer experience is probably the number one reason why I've been able to be so successful. A lot of my clients, especially on the digital twinner side, like, they worked with photographers who, like, if you don't close down the toilet seat, like, they'll just leave it open because they're just going there to take pictures. And I'm like, come on, guys, like, you can close down a toilet seat, you can help them move a furniture around, like, do these extra little things. And I would say probably the customer experience part, because if we mess up, like, we're doing everything in our power to make sure that we make it right, and then some, like helping them out on the next project or something like that. And then I would say my team. My team is absolutely spectacular. They're literally, I call them unicorns, because it's hard to find somebody who's like super kind, who's compassionate, who's smart, who's hardworking, has a drive, determination, work ethic. And my team has every single one of those traits. And so when our clients are interacting with myself or my team, they're getting the same type of experience the whole time. So I'd really say, like, that experience part is number one, especially in today's age with like AI and just a lot of people fronting and putting these like masks on that people really want that authenticity. And so one of the things I failed to mention was my dad was a realtor. And so when I was, working with different companies and realtors, I found myself really gravitating more and more towards realtors, because I found like they're very similar in personality. And that's been like our mission. It was like, we take everyone we work with, we take under that same umbrella that I wish I could have done for my dad, which was to help him get more clients, help him sell more listings, and overall enhance his brand online. Because I truly feel that if he was able to tap into the power of social media, he would be here a lot longer, because he'd be more successful and other things. But because of that heart and that care, and we just truly want to do a good job, I think that's what really separates us from a lot of other people.
Yeah, I think, it's amazing how big of a difference just caring makes. Yeah, because people are, and you're competing against other, solopreneurs and small businesses, right? It's not like you're competing probably against very many huge corporations when it comes to taking pictures of houses and stuff.
Not yet, but yes.
I'm not trying to limit you.
No,
okay?
just kidding.
I'm not putting a ceiling on you. Okay, I'm just saying, you think typically what you expect is when you're working with small businesses, there's like, one of the reasons you do it is because they care more, right? Yeah. And that's at least the baseline expectation most people have. But I'm surprised by how many people don't get that.
Oh my gosh. Honestly, I'm grateful for those people, because those people are making me tons and tons of money. So I'm like, go ahead, keep doing your thing, because it's making us stand out way, way more because of that. But you're right. I don't know why that there is that type of disconnect. But I'm grateful for it, because it has allowed me to be successful with it.
So you think speaking on the digital twinner side of things, you think that's because you're selling a commodity, right? I mean, I know lots of people are like, yeah, I'm trying to do real estate photography. Well, I mean, I've heard it anecdotally. So, is the primary differentiator most people probably can take a decent picture. It's just about the customer service aspect of it.
Oh yeah. I would say, and I've had agents tell me like, I know they take better photos than you do, but I know that you're going to be reliable. I know that I can leave you with my client, my seller, and know that they're going to have a good experience. I know I'm going to get the photos on time. I know that you're going to help me move some of the furniture around. We'll remove some of the things from the photo, complimentary. Just because sometimes there's messy tenants, and there's like nothing our agent can do, but why should they have to suffer for those type of imagery when we have the tools to be able to, clean that stuff up.
Right.
Instead of charging, these outrageous prices and things like that. But yeah, I would probably say that is probably it, especially with our, like once you become a digital twinners client, like 90% of them stay. I have a very, very, very low churn rate, and most of my clients have been with me since year one. So that's pretty, I'm very proud of that, but very grateful because my team's been able to be that extension of me, because I would not be able to do it without them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's crazy that so many small businesses are often selling a commodity like that. And in the grand scheme of things, it's just about execution, and like you literally heard, your pictures are maybe a little bit worse, but not meaningfully, I'm sure. If they were awful, then that would be different, right? They're a little bit worse, but the rest of the experience is so much better. And just like in the net, you make my life easier because I'm having to manage my client less. I'm having to do less work to make sure I get an acceptable product. It's just like, that means if I'm a realtor, that means I say, hey, go take pictures. I know you've got it handled. I'm not going to have to track you down because you said you were going to give them to me on Tuesday and it's Friday. All those things makes, just that execution makes such a big difference when it comes to small business.
Oh, big time. Especially when you're working with realtors. I always joke around as saying like you're trying to rein in a wild bull when you're working with them. They want everything done yesterday. And so we really optimize our business to like, once we take photos, like next day they're in their inbox. The video does take a little bit longer, but when it comes to like the photos and small stuff, they get it very quickly.
Well, so I think that comes to one of the things I'm always curious about is, in order to execute at a high level, you have to have good processes. It's one of the things I try and help businesses with, right? Whether it's a combination of whatever your digital tools are, but also just having basic workflows and processes defined and actually using them. So what tool? I'm curious what tools you're using and kind of what your workflow is when it comes to delivering a product to your customer.
Yeah. Which I bet you're seeing this. There's so many different like type of tools you can use and things like that. But I really think it's like what's working for you. One of the biggest tools we use is ClickUp. ClickUp basically houses all of our CRM, all of our marketing, all of our client flow. And I would say that is what's been like the bedrock for our business of being able to, like, you can look in there and everyone knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing, who's doing what, how they're doing it, and all of that. And then we use a lot of automation with like emails and things like that. So when like one client, comes in, like a property checklist gets sent out to them immediately saying, hey, thank you so much for booking with us. Here's a document that you can share with your seller to get the property ready. This is the photographer that's going to be there. Here's a phone number if you have any questions. Then we do the shoot, and once we deliver the product 24 hours later, they get an email saying, hey, you can download this. But then 24 hours later, they do get another email saying, hey, like, how do we do? How was our getting some feedback there, like how to go for a photographer? How was it with our photos? Was there anything that we can do there? And so we have that kind of just like a little automated process. And honestly, my admin, Tom, is probably probably the one who's getting that all in order and all together. I'm better with the front facing and talking with the clients. Yeah. So my team handles all that, so I can take you as far as there when it comes to like how it all breaks down. But huge shout out to my team. Thank you, Vanessa and Tom.
That's perfect. If you want to grow your business, you have to eventually start working with people, and then you have to be able to trust them to do the things, and you want to find people that are good at the things you're not good at, optimize for the things that only you can do. That's an important part of learning how to run a business.
Double down on your strengths and outsource your weaknesses. That is one of my mottos.
Absolutely. I started working with a virtual assistant because I just knew that like there was a bunch of piddly things that I always just would put off and never get to. Yeah. And so I'm just paying someone to hold me accountable and make sure that those things get done.
I wonder for you though, with you being so in depth with systems, like how are you not revamping your system every other day when you like come across a new platform or a new tool?
Because it's a great question, because actually I think you've been using ClickUp for a long time. And so I'm actually impressed that you're still using it. Trying something new. We were talking with the podcast producer before we started about he's vibe coding stuff. There's a real danger to like be busy always trying a new system to try and like you think you're going to squeeze another like couple % of efficiency out of something. And then you just end up wasting a bunch of time always like building something and trying new things instead of getting actual work done, because people often mix up being busy with being productive.
Yeah.
And you're only being productive when you're actually getting the important work done. And my experience in the past has been that I'm always trying new things, but I found myself running up against that wall where like I'm always trying new stuff, but I'm never really getting anything more from it. And so if I'm going to switch to something, then it has to really have a meaningful positive impact on my business. And the other issue I found is that when you're solo, there's more flexibility to change things. But when you start building a team or including other people, what works for you doesn't necessarily work for everyone else. And I optimize actually more for simplicity
Gotcha.
than for big, complicated, because like using a tool like Notion, a ClickUp could be one like that, where it's just like an endless rabbit hole of you just optimizing things forever, And so like my project management tool is a tool called Basecamp, which and the reason like Basecamp's actually light, it does a lot, but it's light on complexity, because even I have a lot of clients that are really not very technical, but they can sign up and start using it instantly, basically because it's so simple. And that to me is more like what I miss out on, a little bit of like automation and kind of nerdery and optimizing. I make up for that. It's easy for me to onboard people that I work with onto it and onboard clients onto it, and they actually use it, right? You could have the greatest tool in the world, but if no one uses it, then it's kind of useless. Then it's not kind of, it is useless.
Yeah, and that's a special part for what you're doing, is because people are coming to you because they don't have the techie experience and things like that. So the last thing you want to do is send them down to ClickUp rabbit hole.
Yeah.
There's so many nuances to it. So you have to find that happy medium for yourself with still getting what you need, but make sure your clients are able to use it as well.
Exactly. And most of my clients too are people that are like even more not tech savvy. So you just have to, because the worst position for me to be in from a customer service perspective, and this is a problem that a lot of clients fall into and why they often need my help, is like they go and try. They get sold that this tool is going to make their life so much better, but it's like they get oversold something, or they get sold something and then they get no help actually implementing it, or they get overwhelmed by it because it's too much to do. So there's like this real fine balance between a tool that's going to do enough but also be something they'll actually use, because I don't want to end up in a situation convincing someone to use something and then they have a terrible experience with it and don't actually use it.
Yeah.
And so I had that issue once where a client, the tool was fine, but the implementation by the software company was atrocious. And so I had to step in and like kind of like jump back into the project and take it over more and reinsert myself, and then do a bunch of free work to make up for the fact that they did such a terrible job, because it was reflecting me. So
yeah, well, thankfully sometimes those lessons you only have to learn once.
That's correct. That is correct. I learned from that. I said, okay, if you're working with me, I'm staying on through the whole process and after it's implemented to make sure that you actually get what you want from it. And that's just it. If you don't feel like you want to pay for that, or it's not, then okay, then it may not be the right fit. But that's the only way I'm going to make sure that you have a good experience and you're actually getting the value from going through all this headache.
Yeah, smart.
Yeah. So the next thing, I wanted to ask about the review process. Are you keeping all that in ClickUp, just the reviews, or do you have a separate tool you're using to capture reviews, or is it just like an email saying, yeah, things were great, or like, I'm curious how you're capturing the feedback?
Most times, surprisingly, they actually don't reply to the email. But they all see it. They all see it. They all acknowledge it. They love that they get it. And so... oh,
no, I believe that people don't click on that.
Yeah,
I never do.
So when they do, it's typically like we'll take screenshots of it and we'll use it within like our video marketing and things like that, or put it on our website. But we do put the Google link in there in hopes that they, put it on Google as well.
Yeah, that's cool. So what do you know what your response rate is? Because I am curious.
Response rate on
like actually clicking
email?
to review. It's okay if you don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, not necessarily. I'm just curious. One thing that you could consider for the future is that there are like review management tools where they'll just ask you to give like a thumbs up or a thumbs down about the service. If you give a thumbs up, then it points you to the Google review, right? So, and then if you get a thumbs down, it says, then it just says, hey, tell us how we could do better, and doesn't direct them to leave an actual
That's
review.
Smart.
So
okay, good
something
to
to think
know.
about.
Yeah.
Something to think about. It sounds like you probably have mostly good reviews, so it's maybe not such a big deal, but it can be a useful tool to like still capture negative feedback, which can be helpful, but not have it negatively impact your business.
Yeah.
So you can still learn from it, but it doesn't. Because negative reviews can be tricky.
They can, especially when they're live like that. Thankfully, we don't really, have that. Knock on.
Wood,
right?
I don't want to be. I don't want to be responsible.
But that's, I would say, one of the, when you had asked me the question earlier, like what separates us is like we're constantly asking for feedback. How can we be better? What can we offer you that'll, enhance your experience working with us and your work? And an example of this is Matterport 3D, which creates 3D virtual tours, and Zillow are currently at war with each other. And a lot of customers get the Matterport 3D tour. This was what was like really born in, it's been around for years, but people started using it heavily when the pandemic started because they weren't able to do open houses. And, but so a lot of clients still get that. And because of the war that Zillow and Matterport is having, Zillow's not allowing for Matterport tours to be on Zillow anymore. And instead of us just being like, well, we spent, $1,000 on this camera, we're still just going to use this. Like, no, we invested into the Zillow camera so we can still offer that to our clients, still make sure that they can, win on both sides. But it's just stuff like that where we take in that feedback from them and, do our best to make it work. Obviously, we can't like move mountains and stuff like that. But if it's within reason, we'll do our best to, make those adjustments.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of, let's talk about negative customer feedback for a second. The tough thing about negative customer feedback is, most reviews are either really good or really bad. There's not a lot of in-between reviews. And then the negative reviews, if you are generally a company that does a good job, are often don't tell the whole story, don't give a full picture of the situation, or maybe very skewed interpretation of things. So when you have had bad review, how do you handle it?
Well, thankfully, we haven't had any bad review that's, out there. But how do I handle it? I would say this is what a little caveat is, I would say, from not coming from a photography world. Like I never grew up, taking pictures and aspired to do that. And so and the people who do, they have this level of artistry inside of there. They're a creator. They're like, this is their artwork.
It's more personal.
Yeah, way more personal. And so with me, I look at it from a business standpoint. So when I did get one feedback, I was like, okay, so you didn't like this, you didn't like that. Cool. Tell my cinematographer, hey, let's go reshoot this area. Photographer, hey, let's reshoot this area. And it's just, to me, it's like a no-brainer. Like, okay, cool, you didn't like it. We can go ahead and change it up. That's not a big deal. But before I was being that buffer for my team and the feedback would go directly to my team, that's when the feathers would be ruffled. They're like, what? I did this on purpose because of this, and that. And I'm like, I get it. We can keep it for our internal marketing. I think it looks great. But at the end of the day, this is what the client wants. Even if we don't think it's the right thing, like we can educate the client. But if that's what they still want, like we're going to give it to them. Yeah. That's what they want. So I think I don't take it personal. I just see it as a business, you don't like something, cool. What do you like? How can we make that happen? That
is the tough part about creative stuff, is that it is, it's naturally an extension of you. And so it's hard to separate the like, this is just a difference of opinion versus like taking it personally.
Oh yeah. I would say my team's grown in that way. But still, but I get it because they put their heart and soul. They think and breathe photography and videography and movies and researching and all of that. And so they're very methodical in why they shoot and how they do it. So when, somebody doesn't quite understand and they want it a certain way. Like I get it. But at the end of the day, we're a business, they hire us for a service and we got to provide that service.
Right. So let's talk about Orion Sky a little bit. So how is, so that's a little bit different because it's not kind of the same process necessarily over and over again, right? What kind of stuff are you shooting for Orion Sky?
Oh man, all over the place. I would say people who are trying to make a difference in the world. Like we shot for this one guy who was developing an app. He's an older gentleman and put his whole entire life savings into this app to help revolutionize the middle class. He wanted the middle class to understand, the financial decisions you make today, like how that impacts you in 5, 20, 30 years. And so he put his whole life savings into this thing. And so we made him like an introductory video that's on YouTube to get people to sign up, and then just different like influencers. Like we work with one of the top influencers here in Sonoma County, Danny Matringa. He's a fitness guy. We worked with Callum Von Moger, who's another fitness guy down in LA. He played Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Arnold documentary. But basically anything you see on YouTube, like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, and putting those videos on their website or email campaigns. But basically videos that are going to help a brand, share their message, whether that's to get brand awareness, more sales, leads, just get them more exposure.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. So one thing I want to ask is, because I'm curious about this, because this is something I'm actively working on, is what do you do for lead generation in with both of your businesses, whether it's different or the same thing? I'm curious what the source is and what you're doing.
So on Digital Twinner side, we run Google ads, which bring in, tons of business from phone calls, text messages, people inquiring about things. Then we do a direct message outreach through our social media on Instagram. We're just cold DMs to agents, and that's another way that we bring it in. Then we have a referral program as well for our agents. So if they refer anybody over to us, they do get a special discount on their next shoot. And then on Orion Sky Studios side, we're in a lot of different networking groups like BNI. We do Google Ads as well. And we just launched a partnership program for like web developers, web designers, actually people like yourself, just basically people who are working with businesses that we can work with and grow their brand. But what we found with like web designers and digital marketing companies is their biggest problem is getting quality content from their clients. And they're not videographers, not photographers. They're there to market and do everything online to get them more business. But the quality of media that they get from their clients is pretty low. So we offer a special partnership program for those companies to introduce us to their clients. We make them great content, and then in turn, they get to use that content on their marketing campaigns, and then they're making even more money for their clients. So it is like the biggest win-win-win situation that we could be a part of.
Yeah, that is interesting, because I, having worked with some like digital marketing companies, lots of times they're great at like executing ads, knowing how to schedule things, all the targeting, they're great at the strategy part of it and the execution of it. The content part of it is more difficult, or they're like, oh, we got to work with you. Like some of them will have an in-house person that knows what they're doing, but lots of times you're just expecting, like, I got to still come up with reels and record myself and send them to you. Well, like that's kind of, for the client, that's like the hardest part. Exactly.
And so with this partnership program, we offer their clients a 45-minute, 30-day content engine workshop, where we basically teach them all about different types of content they can make, what the posting cadence looks like, where they should be targeting their clients, whether on like Instagram or LinkedIn, because the way that you position yourself on each of those platforms is massively different across the platforms. And basically just give them all the tools, teach them absolutely everything. They can go fish for themselves. But if they find that, hey, they don't have enough time, then they can go ahead and hire us to execute it for them.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to give them some value and then get warm leads from it.
Oh, definitely. I have such an abundance mindset that I don't mind like sharing all the industry secrets that we have and what's worked for our clients, because I genuinely want to see people win. And when people are winning online, like at a certain point, eventually they're going to think of us because we help them in that, a little piece of that. Or they're making so much money online, they're like, hey, now finally I can pay someone else to do it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a great business plan. Makes me feel good, makes me feel like I'm actually, helping people, not just taking their money. I'm literally giving us tons of value to help them win.
Yeah, that's an important conversation I have sometimes. Actually I have this conversation with my wife sometimes, and she's like, why why are you giving them so much advice for free? I'm like, well, because like I'm trying to establish my reputation. I'm trying to give them value so they can understand the value I can provide to them. And like, I'm not going to nickel and dime someone for like a 15-minute phone call about something, you know, like like I'm not going to try and paywall everything, because hopefully like, oh, wow, Jonathan was so helpful. He provided so much value to me. So maybe I have an opportunity for a bigger project. I'm going to call Jonathan, or someone comes up to me and says, oh, I have this problem. Jonathan will be great for your solution.
100%. And I love that. That's the way I do business. That's the way that I like to be done business with. Like I think it just feels so much more fulfilling. I feel like it's more sustainable, and especially in this day and age with AI and these low-hanging fruit that we were talking about earlier, with people who just don't care. Like that type of mixture of, you know, caring and giving as much value and not gatekeeping, like it's very rare these days. And so they're making it super easy for us to win. It's just a matter of getting in front of those people.
Yes, absolutely. So you mentioned AI. I think that's one of the big topics I wanted to talk about today, because AI is, you know, one of the biggest threats, or people that feel the most threatened are creatives. Yeah. Because it's so easy to just like type a prompt in and get something. And the video stuff, the photography stuff is getting better and better. I don't know if you saw the Google the Nana Banana Pro thing.
It is wild.
Crazy. I was playing with it. I was like, I mean, it's legitimately nuts from where you used to have like, you know, people used to have like 5 fingers and an extra eye and it couldn't spell and all this kind of crazy stuff. In the last 2 or 3 years, it's come crazy far. So talk to me a little bit about how you're feeling about AI, how you feel like it's affecting your industry.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I guess my motto is use AI before AI uses you. And with AI, I mean, we do use it in some of our work, like with our digital twinner side, like vacant listings on our videos. Like we can, you know, now add furniture into it and make it look pretty cool. But we're just dabbling in it. I am just taking it day by day. I'm not trying to, you know, doom and gloom, because if I do, then I will not get out of bed, or like I'm like, why am I doing this today? Then if it's going to be like that. And so I just try to live in these day-tight compartments. Let me make the most that I can do today. But I think too is the customer experience part. Like that AI will never, ever, ever be able to replicate. Like this human connection, like truly caring. Like AI can artificially do that, but like does it have that genuine connection there? And I think we're a little blessed too, living in a place like Sonoma County, where people do value the face-to-face.
It's a fair point, yeah.
Yeah, and so I feel like it might take a little bit longer here before the way that it's going to impact the rest of the world. But honestly, I have no clue. I have no clue the way that's going to be. But I think that a time I'll be worried is when it's man against machine. You know, right now it's still man using machine the way that it's always been for hundreds of years. So it's like, until that changes, then I think I'll feel a type of way. But I'm just trying to make the most out of today, and hopefully it'll take care of itself tomorrow, while still being mindful of the AI information that's out there, still utilizing the tool, see how we can bring it into our business. But I don't know if it's going to replace us. Maybe.
Well, yeah,
maybe not.
I don't expect you to have the answer to that, because really there's lots of real people much smarter than both of us, and they don't have the answer to that.
True that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go down a huge AI rabbit hole, but what I think is really, I think what you touched on that AI can't replicate, and what I feel like people are valuing more and more, or at least I find that in myself, is authenticity. Because that's what you feel. That's everyone's visceral reaction to to AI generated content, right? Not necessarily AI giving you like a summary of something you've done, or AI helping you like pull all the information off of an invoice and automatically fill something out for you. But the generative AI is what people, I think, have a negative reaction to, and it can't replace face-to-face interaction and authenticity. And I think the human touch is what people are going to come to value more and more as AI gets better and better.
Oh yeah. I think that's why there's a rise in podcasts. There's a rise in more reality style TV rather than just some other stuff that's out there, because people are craving that human connection, that human touch. And even if people aren't realizing that that's what they're craving, like that's what they gravitate towards. And the people who are utilizing the technology, utilizing AI, like I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think it's just being mindful of like what that can lead to in the future.
Yeah. No, I think it is important to be mindful of how it's deployed. And I would say like most people are using, like from a creative perspective, are using AI to help them create stuff that in a situation where either they were going to go and make something really ugly in Word before, between AI and Canva, they were going to make something really ugly in Word before because they couldn't afford to pay anyone. So actually AI is a great equalizer in that it allows you to get a business off the ground, have professional looking materials for things, and have your crap together. And then I think most people, once they can afford it, want to pay a professional to do stuff and be creative and come up with things once they get a little bit more scale.
Yeah. I mean, that's the hope, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, you never know where all that stuff's gonna go, but I know that's certainly how I feel, right?
Yeah.
When I'm, there's certain things like I would love to pay a designer to come up with artwork for this particular thing, but I can't afford to pay them that, so I'm gonna go use AI to generate something and hope it looks good enough.
Yep.
I think the other thing is, like you said, that staying aware of what is going on with changes in AI and being willing to use it still, because it's going to happen. People are using it. I mean, like, my grandparents know what ChatGPT is and talk to it. So it's here. It's going to be to stay. It's going to be here to stay. So if you aren't trying to find ways to leverage it in your business, then you're going to get left behind.
Oh yeah. I mean, your competitor's using it right now, like right this second. So it's like, use it, but use it to your advantage. How can it help you as opposed to, take you out, so to speak? Because pretty soon, like, an agent's going to be able to walk through a property and just take their own pictures and put it through some AI platform, and bam, there's all the photos. But I truly value just like our experience that we do have with them, that they don't have to walk into a house to do that themselves, that they are still wanting to hire someone like ourselves. And so it's like, how do we differentiate ourselves? And that's through that customer experience and making sure that we're an extension of them when we're, in front of their clients and having good interaction with them as well.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, I mean, that's the biggest takeaway, I think, is just stay nimble.
Yeah. Stay human.
Yeah. Yeah, when it comes to AI. So we are getting close to the end of our time. It's been an awesome conversation. There's a couple questions I like to ask everyone. The first is there a book that you either gift or recommend a lot to people?
There's two books. There is The Go-Giver that I think really revolutionized the way that I think about business, think about sales, because when I was in those 8 years of sales, I was taught that traditional sale sharky type of way. And yes, it works in certain situations, but when you're in a business and you're talking to other business owners, like, that doesn't work. And I couldn't understand why at first until learning more about, different sales techniques. And that Go-Giver book really just shifted everything in the way that I do business and how I approach, honestly, every conversation, where it's basically give more value than what you receive in return, and having that faith that it's going to come back to you. And then the next one is Alex Hormozi's $100 Million Money Models book. I mean, I think all his $100 million offer books are absolutely awesome. But that Money Models book is really great for any type of service business, any type of business, honestly, that is looking to get more money and position themselves just think about how to sell their services in a very unique way that maybe we don't see on a day-to-day basis to really help separate yourself from your competitors.
Those are two great recommendations. I think that especially the Go-Giver. I think when we've met a couple of years ago, you mentioned that book then. That's a core part of being in BNI is giver's gain. It's just another way of saying that, and just providing value to people. It's what we talked about earlier in the podcast, and that's definitely been my mindset as well, is just trying to give more value than receiving, because it does come back to you. People remember that stuff. If you have a scarcity mindset, it's just like a stressful way to live.
Seriously.
I think that's like selfishly, like, just always being worried that, you're going to miss out on an opportunity is just like, it's just like, it's too much.
Yeah.
But then second, it's just people pick up on that energy too. When you're putting it out there and you're just like, you end up being way too aggressive, way too pushy. You don't feel authentic. It messes with all of your motivations.
Yeah, big time.
So the other question I like to ask people is, if you could put one thing, like, up on a billboard, up over the freeway, one piece of wisdom to impart to people, what would it be?
Great question. There's two things that come to mind. The first one is choose your hard, because running a business is hard. Working 9 to 5 is hard. It's just, what hard do you want to deal with? I think too many people go into things because they want that certain outcome, but don't realize the list of problems that come along with it. And I think when you go into something knowing what the outcome is going to be, knowing the hardships that it's going to come with it, and you're choosing for those hardships, it's going to make the whole process just way more easier and just enjoyable. Because it's not about the destination, it is about the journey. The other thing that comes to mind, and this is from one of my mentors, Layla Hermosi, is fuck your mood and follow the plan. Too many times have I let like my own mood or my own feelings, get in the way. And I think that that has been absolutely a staple for me and like super transformational for me when I realized that just because I'm feeling this way doesn't mean I need to act on that. I can still follow the plan.
Yeah. I think I really, I resonate with both of them, but especially the second one, because that was one thing that I didn't, the feelings are what I didn't expect as much in running your own business. It's just like, you just like, sometimes things are really frustrating, it's like easy to get down. And you're like, I have this plan, and the tension I always feel, and that I've struggled with a lot the second half of this year is like sticking with the plan versus how I'm feeling and knowing like when I need to pivot and change and like do a new strategy. But also like it's so easy, especially just in kind of our, TikTok kind of like fast-paced instant gratification culture that like, oh, this isn't working, try something new. This isn't working, try something new. But you also got to like give things enough time to cook, at least if it's a reasonable idea, right? If it's terrible, then that's different. But assuming your idea is like reasonable, if you haven't given it enough time, then you can't just bounce to the next thing because you're just going to be stuck in this cycle of just always trying things but never getting anywhere, being busy but not productive.
Exactly. You just get into that hole of like, it's easy at first because, it's a fun part at first, and then it gets to the weeds, and then that's where people most jump off and then go to the next thing. And it's like, but you never build something sustainable if you're not willing to stick it out in the weeds. And it's a constant reminder for myself. But yeah, I live by those words.
I think those were like two really great, two billboards.
Two
great billboards. So that is it. That is the end of our time. I want to give you an opportunity to shout out. Where can people find you? What do you want people? Where do you want people to check you out?
You can follow me on Instagram at @AshleyMGomez_. You can you'll be able to see my other big companies on there as well. But yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Your links to all your stuff will also be in the podcast /YouTube description. And I just want to thank you for being on again. It was awesome. It was a great conversation, and I'm looking forward to maybe next time.
I'll talk to you again in another 2 years, okay?
All right, sounds good.
Heck yeah.